Are you not entertained? The Toronto Raptors almost led wire to wire against the Cleveland Cavaliers until they inevitably choked it in the fourth quarter. And that was pretty predictable. If you saw this game kind of around the end of the third quarter, you felt the momentum sort of shifting. The Raptors answered a couple of Cleveland runs. There were mini runs. The Raptors played competitive defense for the most part, but there were a lot of errors down the stretch. There was a miscommunication between Gradey Dick and Scotty Barnes. There was a turnover when Scotty isolated against Max Struess, which wasn't called. Darko was upset. Was it a foul? Was it not? These are the growing pains closing out a game against a team that some people argue is the best team in the league. That's going to be tough. But let me say something, which I think that it is very, very relevant. Don't get too gassed up on this. Don't get too gassed up on this. The Cleveland Cavaliers clearly had a hangover from last night. Watched last night's game. It was a very, very tough game. It was blow for blow. It was a playoff game. The Cleveland Cavaliers basically played a back-to-back after playing what is effectively a playoff game. They don't have another game until I think Sunday or Monday. So I don't think that it is necessarily something to be like, okay, well, I guess it's us in Cleveland taking over the future. No, the Raptors made their share of mistakes. They could not do anything with Darius Garland. Darius Garland, from the first half to the second half, pretty much killed them at will. There was a step back three over Scotty Barnes, which pretty much iced the game. But it's worth noting, which we did not clip it and we're not going to be able to see it, but there were two possessions in a row where Scotty did shut the water off on Darius Garland. Speaking of the Toronto Raptors, there was one notable addition to the Raptors rotation today, and that was Chris Boucher. Shout outs to one of our channel members, Kaya Murphy, who's a big Chris Boucher fan and usually hates the fact that I am so critical of Chris. Well, there would be no criticism of Chris Boucher tonight because he balled out. He was a monster on the glass. And yeah, he airballs that three late, but overall, don't even mistake this. He's one of the biggest reasons why you were in this game in the first place. Another big reason you were in this game is Jamal Shed, a player who did not play well last night, really struggled on the road, came back with a huge game, hit 3 3-pointers, 3 for 3 from three. Another reason you were in this game, frankly, was Scotty Barnes. His shot making in the mid post is getting scary real. It is getting to the point where I genuinely think like this guy is unstoppable in the mid post. Like he cannot do wrong in the mid post. Like anytime he's attacking in the mid post, it's like whatever he wants, he got it. Right. So I think he outplayed Evan Mobley tonight. Some will disagree with that, but I would not. Let's take a look at this game. The Toronto Raptors string together another very clutch loss. And you know what? This one feels different because the Raptors competed. They played hard. Yes, they made some errors. Yes, they were outmatched. Yes, they still, even without Donovan Mitchell, were still technically out-talented. Yes, Ty Jerome got free a few times. Yes, you know, you look at guys like Sam Merrill, were their shots a little too clean? Sure, all of that is true. The Raptors pick up a technical foul on the RJ Barrett, complaining on the foul on Sam Merrill. Was the refereeing a little bit uneven? We'll take a look at some clips. But overall, this is a result you can hang your hat on and you can be proud of. I went on the panel today and said the Cleveland Cavaliers win streak is going to end tonight. And for about 43 minutes, I thought I was a genius. But of course, in the end, the Raptors are going to be the Raptors. Scotty Barnes, of course, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, didn't make a single three. When's the last time you saw Scotty play a game where he didn't make a single three? Scotty Barnes over the last 7 games has been balling. 59% true shooting over those last 9 games. The three-pointers are down a little bit. He's shooting 34% from three. He's averaging 21, 8, and 5-ish. So it was nice to see those assists come up. Scotty took on more of a playmaking load today. That was pretty nice to see. RJ Barrett scored opportunistically. Defense, a lot of question marks, right? Hit a couple threes. I think one big three to start the third quarter. It was nice to see. Immanuel Quickley, another iffy game, right? With the interior that is present with Jared Allen, who was immaculate tonight. I know Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes was all the draw, but I thought Jared Allen was the best big on the court. That's assuming you don't think Scotty Barnes is a big. If you think Scotty Barnes is a big, and effectively Scotty Barnes, I guess with Ochai Agbaji out, played power forward tonight, then Scotty was the best big. But clearly, I think Jared Allen was very instrumental in keeping the Cavs in the game with those offensive rebounds. But yeah, I think Immanuel Quickley struggled with the length of the Cleveland Cavaliers for the most part. And Gradey Dick had a so-so game, 11 points. He shot reasonably well relative to how he's been shooting. Got the quick hook a few times for some defensive breakdowns, 1 rebound, 1 assist. You know what? Honestly, here's what I need from guys like Jacoby and Gradey. Get on the glass. You guys are both big, both long, both capable. Get on the glass because the Raptors got killed on the offensive glass today, and a lot of that comes down to gang rebounding. We've seen at spurts last year. Emmanuel Quickley, you cannot play 30 minutes and get 0 rebounds. You just can't. You cannot get you can't play 30 minutes with 0 rebounds. Gradey Dick cannot play 21 minutes with 1 rebound, and Jacoby Walter cannot play 15 minutes with 0 rebounds. Jamal Shed cannot play 15 minutes with 0 rebounds. I cannot have a center like Kelly Olynyk coming into the game 6 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds. I just can't have that type of production. Chris Boucher and Scotty Barnes controlled the glass. They were the biggest reasons why this team was in it, alongside Jamal Shed's shot making, 3 for 3 from 3. Really nice to see this improvement that Jamal has taken as a three-point shooter. Coming into the league out of Houston, the biggest question mark around Jamal Shed was what? Jump shooting. Tonight, that wasn't a question. Got into the short, mid-range, kind of that floater range stuff, effective around the rim. Jamal Shed was the best point guard, if you don't consider Scotty a point guard, for the Raptors tonight. He outplayed Emmanuel Quickley. He outplayed Davion Mitchell. I thought he was fantastic. He was +4. All right. Jacoby Walter gave him some good minutes as well. Chris Boucher was an absolute revelation. Nothing more to say there. In terms of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I mean, Evan Mobley had a very competent game, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. A lot of on 11 shots, a lot of it was not self-generated. Jared Allen, a lot of putbacks, a lot of hustle plays, but 18 rebounds, 18 points, 15 rebounds, and just really good. Overall, the shot making, though, the live dribble creation of Darius Garland, who was a ridiculous +18 in a game where, frankly, his team lost every time he went to the bench. And he was incredible. 40 points on 22 shots with 9 assists with Donovan Mitchell out. Is Darius Garland a star player in the league? Yes, he is. Is he an all-star? Is he back to all-star form? Yes, he is. He was really good. Off the bench, Max Strus, always trouble. Ty Jerome had some moments there. He was really good. Isaac Okoro missed every one of his shots, but his defense was impressive overall. And Sam Merrill, I don't know why people still think Sam Merrill is a really bad defender. I don't really think he's a bad defender anymore. He's gotten a lot better, but he is a guns, he's a lights out shooter who could have easily lit you up for 15, 16 points, but you hold him to 2. That's a win. That's a win. Yo, Jordan, what's up, man? Yo, Jordan, you should call in. Check. I think our community would love to hear from you. If you have time, feel free to call in at some point. With your chime in with your thoughts on this game if you watched it. But yeah. Anyways, so what am I saying? I thought overall this game was all right. I thought this was a really good effort for the Raptors. Let's take a look at the team stats real quick and we get to the film breakdown. Okay. Oh, I would be remiss if I did not say, go check out Drenchman. Go check out Drenchman Sports on Instagram. If you guys want to learn about basketball, if you want to learn about training, you want to learn about basketball in general, like just the ins and outs of what players work on every single day. I've been following Jordan for, I want to say, about a year and a half on IG. I share his content all the time. He's a really smart dude. Okay. I mean, the Raptors match even for even on the field goal attempts. That's pretty impressive, but they lost the possession battle because the Cleveland Cavaliers got to the line more. The Raptors missed 7 free throws. In a game that you lose by 6, the details really start to matter. 16 offensive rebounds, 6 missed free throws. That's your loss right there. 100%. That's your loss. Like you want to talk about the fine tooth of like how you win these types of games. You go watch OKC versus Cleveland yesterday, 30 lead changes. It always came down to the finest details. The one box out assignment you don't miss, the one rotation that's late, the one closeout that's sloppy, fouling the three-point shooter, missing, the backdoor cutter, these small details. And that's really why, everyone preaches playoff experience. You need playoff experience. Yeah, because you need to be in these types of tight games. And I'm really happy that the Raptors decided to show up for this one. Obviously, it's not encouraging necessarily that the Raptors get blown out pretty much 23-34 in the fourth quarter. Maybe that's not the most encouraging thing. But overall, the fact that you're even in this game is probably a great thing, right? If you really want to talk about it, it's probably a good thing. So let's take a look at the film sesh, and then we will stop this. Okay. I just look. Here's the thing. Scotty has been elite in the mid post, right? Like in this range, right here, it's sight unseen. You can't stop this. If you're Dean Wade, who's a pretty fine defender, Isaac Okoro is a fine defender, Evan Mobley is a great defender. It didn't matter who you put in front of him tonight. This is just, I mean, what I want you to see right here when we look at these shots with Scotty. Look at the shooting window. Look at what he sees. I mean, it's a pretty long defender. He's 6'8", 6'9". It's a wing defender on you. You're not attacking a guard. You're not attacking like a slow-footed big. You're not attacking Yusuf Nurkic and he has no chance. No, this is a guy who's technically designed to be able to stop you, and he can't. Right? That's great. Now, on the other end, Darius Garland just doing whatever he wants. Take a look here at him attacking RJ and Jakob Poeltl. Now, Jakob Poeltl is just opening up. What are you doing? Like, you can complain about RJ all you want, but that's Darius Garland. Jakob Poeltl's got to do something. Now, I also understand you're in a really bad situation if you're Jakob Poeltl, because obviously Jared Allen's right there. But Scotty is sitting there in the gap to help. So if you overcommit to stop the drive, Scotty will tag, at which point you're going to rely on RJ Barrett to rotate out to the shooter, which is probably why the Raptors defense is pretty much cooked, because there's no way in hell that I'm going to trust that Gradey or RJ are going to make that rotation. So I understand why Jakob Poeltl is kind of staying home on Jared Allen, but at the same time, you can't allow this. Like, this is the last thing in the world. And again, holy shit. I'm sorry, Gradey Dick, to do this to you, but I'm going to slow this down so we can see how bad. Gambling on Darius Garland. Are you insane? What are you doing? Stay positional. Stay upright. You're 6'8". Gamble once, shame on you. Gamble twice, go to the bench. What are we doing here? And then shoving him a little bit from the back. Like, why? Why do that? My Lord. Okay. Crazy. Okay. Speaking of crazy, this is crazy. Here, Scotty Barnes is going to tip this pass. Scotty was very active. They tell you high hands, eagle hands, whatever you want to preach it. Gets the steal there. RJ Barrett immediately. Why do the Raptors do one of these every goddamn game? Every single game for the last 3 games, there has been a bounce pass like this in transition. And Jamal Shed is almost always involved, either as the passer or the receiver, and it always gets picked off. And I don't understand it. Just drive, bro. Just drive. You got Gradey on the wing. He's probably going to fan out. They're probably not going to cover it well. You get an open 3. Like, my God, why do we always do this? Like, you're looking for advantages that aren't there. They're back. This is not. This is a one-on. I mean, I get it, but even if you somehow thread this, Jamal Shed is not finishing that over Jared Allen. Like I don't even get it personally. Okay. That's just a crazy sequence. As I said, automatic. Scotty Barnes is automatic. Automatic. Just automatic. You're not stopping this. Once he gets this polished down a little bit more, I'm telling you, I was pointing this out last year. If y'all remember last year, I made a compilation of all of his mid-range shots, and I said, look at him doing this over Evan Mobley, over Jalen Williams, over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It didn't matter who you put in front of him. He got such clear separation, and there was a game, I think, against the Clippers or the Lakers. I don't remember which one it was, but he went to it like 3 times, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, this is about to get unstoppable, because you understand something about Scotty. His hips are on par with Evan Mobley. Like, hip to hip. Their hips are the same. So he's got the lower body of a 7-footer, which means he's got really long strides, which means when he figures out the footwork and figures out how to stay balanced on these shots, my God, it is game over. Game over. You're not stopping it. And if you double, so help you God, he's going to pick you apart. This is the vision of Scotty Barnes going forward. Mid-post assassin. Okay, here we go. Chris Boucher, George Niang. Probably needs a new trainer. Just saying. Chris Boucher to end the half or end the quarter. SWAT. Chris Boucher came in like a man possessed in this game. This was a beautiful sequence for the Raptors, which results in a Jacoby Walter 3. Watch this. So Davion Mitchell passes it over to Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher gets the closeout from Jared Allen. Little sidestep there. Passes it over to Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell, I don't know why they're closing out to him. Happy to let him take the shot, but closing out on him to leave Jacoby open is crazy. And here, Jacoby, Max Strus, way too fat. Sorry, George Niang, way too fat to get out there. Okay. How the hell did RJ Barrett get away with this? Yo, how the hell? And this was not called as a travel. Right in front of the ref. Yo, this ref was she grading on a curve? Jared Allen leads a 21-10 run. It was largely Allen and Garland just, going crazy. Here, RJ Barrett to end the half. The Raptors end both quarters with a positive play, 61-61 at the half. Amazing. Here, the Raptors are actually up. They're up by 2, and you're starting to think, could it happen? Here, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to double aggressively on Scotty Barnes. And what did I say? You can't double him. He sees everything. Whips this right into Yak's shooting pocket. Yo, anyone who doesn't think this guy's a special passer is honestly, y'all smoking something. Okay, here we go. Darius Garland coming off a screen. What could possibly happen? He is so shifty. He never kills his dribble. He's so skilled. And once again, a wide open layup. This is a layup line. But Darius Garland's really skilled. I'll share with you a funny story about Darius Garland and Scotty Barnes later. But yeah, this goes way back. They were in high school around the same time. Okay. Scotty Barnes is reminding Evan Mobley why he won Rookie of the Year. Watch this. One punch, turn, nothing. That's a 7-footer who did a great job. And that's Scotty Barnes saying there is no job. They say that a superstar is defined as a player who cannot be stopped by great defense. That was great defense, and it didn't matter. Now here, Scotty's lone 3 is counted as a 2 because he has a little bit of that right foot on the line, unfortunately. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, it was a 3 for me. And just right through, silky. Evan Mobley not reacting in time. Now, here, this was a little bit late, but I said Kawhi wishes he could do this. Once again, how much attention is on Scotty right now? And how many guys are actually open? Nobody's really open. This is terrible spacing, right? It's just terrible spacing. You got Davion sitting in the dunker spot for some reason. You got Chris Boucher. You got RJ Barry's way too close. So all this spacing is creating a very, very tight shot clock situation in which Scotty is, basically facing a defender at the back, a defender on the side, and a defender in his face. How does one stop this dude? How do you stop this? Look at the defense. How are you supposed to stop this? This is like how I used to break down Kawhi Leonard's tape and be like, how do you stop this dude? You can't. You can't stop him. That was with the shot clock coming down. Just a really, really tough shot, man. And this is not the same play. This is a different play. Once again, self-generated, takes Evan Mobley to the post. Tell me, squint your eyes and tell me that you didn't see Kawhi Leonard do that 150 times for the Raptors. Come on, man. This is some superstar shit. When you start tacking in what he can do, start imagining what it looks like with more spacing. I'm sick and tired of people removing the context of a player from the player itself. Scotty Barnes has evolved massively as a player. There is no chance in hell he could do this last year or this year, last year or the year before at this level. This is unstoppable. He has been one of the best players in the league at doing this. And this is the superstar trait. Whenever we say Kevin Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, where are they dominant from? It's this zone. right here. You are witnessing the birth of a superstar, and some of y'all just way too stupid to see it. And that's okay. Don't worry. You'll wake up when ESPN wakes up, but it's all good. Okay. Now, here is a not so superstar moment for Scotty Barnes. Gets ripped. But here, I want you to look at Max Strus's hands and really look at it. Is this a foul? Is this a foul? Hey, referee, number 58, blow your fucking whistle. This is a foul. Okay? This is a foul. He's got his arm linked. He's straight arming him. Max Strus looks like a Make-A-Wish kid playing football right now. This is a foul. Is Scotty initiating it? No. You got both hands on the chest. Did they bring hand checking back? Now, Scotty's trying to brush him off. He's trying to get his arms off of him. Now, how did he lose the ball there? That's what I would love to know. Did he kick it? Hang on. I'm going to slow this down because I need to figure out how the hell he lost the ball. Okay, watch this in slow motion. Boom, boom, boom. That's a foul. That's another foul. And that's a kickball. Okay, so he kicked it. So he just loses the basketball. He dribbled it off his foot. That's unfortunate. It results in a turnover at a very, very costly juncture of the game for the Raptors, unfortunately. And speaking of costly shit happening at the worst possible time for the Raptors, here's something really terrible happening for the Raptors at the worst possible time. And this is Max Strus getting wide open. The aforementioned Make-A-Wish kid getting wide open. How do you lose him? Now, you can say this is on Gradey. You could say this is on Scotty. What I'm going to say is it's on both of them. One of them has to communicate here. Now, right now, Scotty does not want to leave Gradey Dick on Darius Garland, right? You don't surrender the switch when the switch is this favorable, because leaving Gradey on an island against Darius Garland is asking for 3 points or 2 points guaranteed. Guaranteed. You know, Charles Barkley says guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Okay. And I'm not saying Scotty is some sort of Darius Garland stopper, but he has a much better chance. So right now, Gradey has to rotate. But here, unfortunately, RJ doesn't. I mean, even if you want to say that's RJ coming over and then Gradey sprinting to the corner, someone's got to do something here. You cannot leave Max Strus open. He's too good from three. And that's the game, man. I mean, unfortunately, it's costly mistakes like that. And then, of course, there was the step back from Darius Garland on Scotty Barnes, which, of course, you know, puts the game pretty much out of hands. And then it was a foul shooting free throw shot from there. But let me show you something that I think will be a little bit encouraging for you, which is this. You had this game in the third half, in the second half. There was actually like a moment in time where you were significantly favored to win this game. Third quarter, Raptors up 93-81. That happened. That's real. Okay. Now, again, I say don't gas it up too much because obviously this was a bit of a hangover game, a bit of a trap game for them. They played a very, very tough game last night. It's tough, man. What do you take away from this game? I think you take away the fact that the Raptors played hard. Both teams played hard. And in the words of my man Rasheed Wallace, both teams played hard, my man. And I think kudos to the Cavaliers. They showed me tonight that they're a true championship contender for sure, right? Because there's nothing that they're really playing for at this point. I mean, I don't mean to sound crazy when I say that, but they genuinely could have folded this game easily. I mean, easily they could have folded this game and just been like, all right, whatever, right? We don't need to do anything, you know, with this game. Like we don't need this game for our record or whatever. You didn't need this game. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you could have easily sold this game and just said, whatever, we had a tough night. It's about time we lose one. We've won, I don't know, 14 straight, 15 straight. Or is 11 straight? My bad. It's 11 straight. But they didn't. They came back. They fought hard. They could have made excuses where we don't have Donovan Mitchell. We played last night. We're really gassed. They didn't do that. If you're the Toronto Raptors, you could also make excuses. When the Cleveland Cavaliers punched back in the second quarter, you certainly could have given up. In the third quarter, You could have given up. Instead, you kept punching, kept pushing, kept pushing. Hopefully, this is the type of game that you really grow from. You went up against a really, really good defense tonight. And most of what makes them a good defense was intact. So the fact that you managed to score 126 points on this team is impressive. I think it's also worth noting Bruce Brown did not play tonight. And I think that that was for the benefit of the Raptors. Overall, I think that the Raptors are better off without Bruce Brown at this point. I mean, I made a big stink about him yesterday. I said he single-handedly killing them. And it was nice to see that without Bruce Brown today, the Raptors looked a hell of a lot better. It's also worth noting that despite being out of the rotation yesterday, it seems, at least for the moment, that Chris Boucher has once again earned his spot back in the rotation above Kelly Olynyk. And if he continues to play like this, it's going to be very hard to take him out because he has been very good. He has been very good for the last 2 games. I'd say this might be the best 2-game stretch of Chris Boucher in the last 2 years. I mean, he's really playing like a guy who understands that he's going to be on a minimum contract next year. And clearly someone has gotten in his ear about the holes in his game. And today, I don't think he forced a lot of stupid shots. I think he took the shots that were available to him. And I think he made good decisions overall. I think it was a good it was good. Husho saying, watching Barnes kiss that 10-foot jumper off the glass made me shed a tear. You watching the birth of a superstar, man. And this is, I have a saying that I'm not wrong. Usually I'm not wrong. Now, hell, I've been wrong about Scoot Henderson, been wrong about Brandon Miller, been wrong about a lot. But usually I'm not wrong. Usually I'm early. And when it comes to Scotty, I'm usually early. So last year, I started pointing out this mid-range stuff. And I was just very adamant this summer that he work on this mid-range stuff. Because I was like, man, if he puts this together, one bump, unstoppable. This is a game of separation. This is a game of space. Steph Curry, Shaquille O'Neal. You talk about Paolo Banchero even. Any star player you're talking about, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Edwards. We're talking about space, 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 space. With all of these players, we are always talking about space. We're talking about elite space generation. Okay? And when I talk about space generation, really I'm talking about windows of space. When you Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you're so flexible, you're so shifty, you're so crafty. You've got this amazing handle that you keep on a string and you never lose it, and you've got this 6'6" frame. Yo, you got so much space because basketball is played like on a 3-dimensional plane, right? Like when you take a Shaquille O'Neal, how are you supposed to stop that? Every time he bumps you, you go back. Every time he goes up, you go down. And so at some point, you just realize Shaquille O'Neal is just more open than everybody else. Why? This is why I never really rated Pascal Siakam as a star player, because he just didn't get space, right? Occasionally, he would have a 35, 38-point game, but it was super hard. Everything was super hard with Pascal. With Scotty, everything is easy. You look at it, how much energy is being exerted on these turnarounds? It's so easy for Scotty. Everything is super easy for him, right? Like, and then you take into account all of the other advantages. Now, the other day I was watching Gil's Arena react to the top 25 under 25 list, and Scotty Barnes on ESPN's top 25, and Scotty Barnes was number 11, and they were firm that Cade needs to be like in the top 5. Jalen Green needs to be in the top 5. These bucket getters, they have major holes in their game. Cade is not a good finisher, nor is he a good defender. Jalen Green is not a good defender, nor is he a great finisher, nor is he efficient. Both of them are turnover prone as hell. So when you start looking at all of Scotty's unique gifts as a player, the portability, the ability to rebound, the ability to pass, the ability to defend, the ability to defend 4 positions on most nights. When you take all of that into consideration, and then you start adding in the fact that, he might just be way more efficient at scoring than these guys. And he can get that volume up whenever he wants. And he can pretty much score 28 to 30 points in his sleep one day. Like, this is not a conversation. This is, honestly, I wasn't super high on Paolo Banchero coming out of Duke either. But the thing that I noticed about Paolo this year, and especially like last year towards the end of it, was he was just so much better at getting space than I had ever accounted for at college. And so, yeah, I rate Paolo. I rate Paolo way more than I rate Cade. But I think Scotty is way, way closer to that superstar level than most of the players that he's often talked in the same conversation as, for sure. And again, this is all with the jump shot kind of in and out. This is with the ankle probably still bothering him a little bit. You'll see when the spacing gets improved, the types of shots that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum get in Boston, those unbothered, there's no chance. There's no chance in hell. With Scotty, in a fully realized, fully actualized roster with shooters around him and proper spacing and bigs who can catch the basketball and lob threats, there's no way in hell that you're going to be able to send 4 players at him the way they did tonight. There's no way, right? Ass Modai saying RJ hasn't evolved much since playing at Duke. High floor. RJ has evolved a lot since playing at Duke. I don't know where you're getting that from. I mean, he's evolved a tremendous amount as a playmaker. I think his basketball IQ is a lot better. Bueno Kitty saying, after this game, I'm liking Penn's idea to just buy out Cowboy Bruce. There's really nothing to gain or lose from him at this position, but sure. I mean, y'all understand, I feel like a lot of people don't read. And I think it's a big problem in our society. When you have a chance, if you're curious, if you have an hour and a half to kill, please go read the CBA and go look at second apron restrictions and go look at how many teams are in the second apron and go look at the dwindling assets or the dwindling avenues to success or trade that some of these teams have. Consider a player like Yusuf Nurkic, who is on the second apron capped out Phoenix Suns. Do you know how many restrictions are in place? They can't take back more salary in a trade, which means any player that is traded for Yusuf Nurkic cannot make more than Yusuf Nurkic. Typically, when you're trading for a player, if you're not one of those apron teams, there's a wiggle room to make the salaries match. If you're sending out 18, you can still take back 21, 22. It's okay. Usually, it's okay. Within, I think there's a frame of reason of like 125% or 120%. When you're second apron capped out, you're hard capped. And so what that means is Yusuf Nurkic, one, cannot be traded for more money coming back, which means Yusuf Nurkic even if you did want to take a pick and say, hey, here's an expiring contract, Bruce Brown, you can't even send Bruce Brown because Bruce Brown makes more than Yusuf Nurkic. So now another team that's like the two teams that are both second apron teams can almost never do a deal together because one of you is almost always going to take, you'd have to match dollar for dollar salaries. Why do you think minimum contracts were so popular in this league, right? So that's the toughest part. Zal 123. I'm gonna ask you one time. I appreciate the question. Please don't spam the chat. It's not fun for anybody. If you really want your question read, spam a $2 super chat, man. Don't do this. I don't like when people spam the chat with the same thing over and over again. And I'm not trying to be petty. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just not going to reward this by answering that question. There's a lot of books behind me. If you can, zoom in, you'll probably see at least one of them. Okay. Christian Tiller, Google it. Literally, Google the CBA, NBA CBA. It's publicly available for everyone to read. Okay, so honestly, that's what makes things so difficult right now. If you want to trade Chris Boucher to a second apron team, number one, you will have to take back more salary because they cannot take back more salary, which is fine for the Toronto Raptors, who after waiving Bruno Fernando are actually $9 million, I believe, $9.5 million under the luxury tax. So there's a good, healthy amount. A super chat. Thank you very much. KP. My biggest issue this year hasn't been the team, but our own fans. It honestly been sad to witness. What specifically do you not like about our fan base? I have a lot of issues with this fan base as well, but I'm curious what you don't like. And I'm going to leave this up so that y'all can tell me what is it that you specifically don't like about the Raptors fan base. I think my biggest issue is the short-sightedness and how quickly we dismiss young players who are struggling. I think it is also a lack of understanding of what is great basketball or what makes a great basketball player. I mean, shit, we are not that far removed from people saying this entire team should be built around RJ Barrett. We are 4 games removed from the people trying to tell us tell this community, and y'all remember I fired back pretty hard on this, that Emmanuel Quickley is some sort of pure point guard that's going to be the answer at the point guard position. He's not. He is an off-ball player primarily who has some on-ball tendencies that should be developed, but it's still a work in progress, and you have no guarantee that it's going to work. No guarantee. I need Emmanuel Quickley to be a much better defender if he's going to justify $32 million. Absolutely. I'm going to need him to be a better decision maker. His decision making has been questionable at times, for sure. Um, Shalinda De Silva saying, I love our fan base, but at the same time, the front office has made mistakes and was too patient with a team that had no business being patient with. Sure. Sure. I agree with that. I mean, to be fair, the Knicks would have loved to keep Emmanuel Quickley. Unfortunately, he was a little too expensive for their taste, and he fancied himself as a starting level player, and he wanted Jalen Brunson money, and they said, "Take a hike, buddy." But I think Emmanuel Quickley has. I think the best of IQ is yet to come. I think there's no way in hell you're going to sell me on the fact that Emmanuel Quickley is this bad. Like, he's much better than the player we've seen in the last 5 games, and I suspect that he will eventually the performance will even out, right? However, I think that it's worth noting that I also don't think that I don't think that RJ Barrett is as good as he showed earlier into the year as well. Like, I think there are some severe limitations in his game. There's so many times where he just cannot finish, you know, 4 feet from the basket, and it's just like, look, the same thing I said about Scotty, where everything's easy. With RJ, everything's hard. And it's the same thing as Pascal Siakam. Y'all love tough shot makers, but you don't realize how tough those shots are and why they're so tough. It's different when you're going up against Craig Elo and the entire Cleveland Cavaliers defense. You're Michael Jordan. You having to suspend yourself in midair and hit a and hit a floater or hit a shot. That's different. That's a tough shot maker. But when your entire diet is tough shots, like Michael Jordan's shot diet was not tough. Let me just be clear with you on that one. Michael Jordan, watch a lot of Michael Jordan in my life. Michael Jordan hit a lot of easy shots, because he had so many athletic advantages that allowed him to elevate to levels that other defenders just could not catch up to. And he was just wide open. If you look at Michael Jordan, 96 to 98, Michael Jordan, man, those shots were wide open. It was, and of course, what kind of a scorer wants to shoot a more contested shot? You'd be stupid to. You want to go away from the help. I mean, that's not me saying that you should be like Devin Booker and cry every single time someone doubles you, but I'm saying, like, what kind of an offensive player drives into help? A stupid one. That's why I don't respect Pascal Siakam as a star, because he drove into help relentlessly. No, you drive away from help. Scotty's biggest issue right now is he picks up his handle too quickly. Why does he pick up his handle too quickly, Rob? Well, it's because his handle is not refined enough. Give it one more summer, man. I know I keep asking for one more summer, but y'all seeing the fruits of the labor. Give it one more summer. Give his handle one more summer. Give him one more summer to get comfortable with some of these moves that he's obviously like working through. Give him one more summer where he can get a little bit more shake, a little bit more wiggle, a little bit more fluidity into some of these shots. Oh my God, y'all gonna see this is gonna be unstoppable, because again, the physics of the physics. It's like the physics of superstars is like is very easy to see. When you see a superstar, like when I'm seeing AJ DeBonsa, when I'm seeing, Cooper Flag, it's very easy to see what a superstar like looks like, what they move like on the basketball court, right? I'm not even trying to get too scientific about it. It's just it's there is a difference in their athletic profile. There's a difference in their separation. There's a difference in their processing. There's a difference, right? You would be seduced into thinking, if you watched a really hot quarter of Karis LeVert, that he was a superstar, but I'm not. I, I spot it. Lance Stevenson, Nick Young. These are players that I call star adjacent. They think they're stars, right? But they need the right situation, because they don't have the star advantage. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a real star, okay? And when I'm seeing what Scotty's doing, I think that it's very, very important to realize that, yeah, he's a real star, man. Y'all got a real star. And tonight he looked like one. I think going forward, this starting lineup probably needs some work, right? And I think Darko has acknowledged that to some extent with his rotations. If you look at overall, take a look at, let me see, like Gradey's game log. Go look at the minutes. What he was playing earlier in the season: 34, 31, 31, 33, 33, 31, 31, 25, 25. Look at the dip here. 25, 25, 37, 30, 27, 20, 21. If you take the last 7 games as the Raptors have gotten healthier, he has consistently, I mean, granted, the Memphis game, the Atlanta game, those were blowouts. But even tonight and New York, which were not really blowouts per se. I mean, New York was kind of over in the fourth quarter. I agree with that. It was a blowout for all intents and purposes. New York and Milwaukee were blowouts, but tonight was a close game. And I think that is worth noting. You without Ochai Agbaji and Bruce Brown, 2 guys who technically are playing regular minutes and are ahead of are ahead of Chris Boucher, Jamal Shead, et cetera, in the lineup. So this was a game where I think you really found out how Darko feels about Gradey Dick right now. And that's not to say that's how Darko feels about Gradey long term. Please understand, whenever I talk about a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old or a rookie, I'm always going to caveat it by saying I'm not talking about long term. I'm talking about the short term, how they feel about them right now. Right now, the way Jamal Shead is playing, I think, there's a really good case to be made that he's pretty much earned the backup point guard spot, even if Davion Mitchell is marginally ahead of him defensively, marginally more stable offensively, marginally more consistent. I think Jamal Shead's highs are so much higher. His lows are so much lower. So it's like you're playing the variable game. But the first opportunity goes to Jamal. If Jamal struggles, maybe then you go to Davion. That's how I would probably roll it if I was Darko. But tonight, without Bruce Brown, without Ochai, you were expecting like 35 minutes for Gradey Dick, right? But that's not what happened. They decided to go with Jamal Shead. They played small. They played a 2-point guard lineup just to keep the defense intact. I think if I'm Gradey Dick, I'm reading the message loud and clear. If I don't get my shit together, at some point, this starting spot is not mine. Now, people really do have this sort of weird cutoff in their head of lottery, right? Let me be clear about something. I believe in Gradey Dick long term. I do. I believe he's going to be a very, very solid player. I reject any notion of, oh, he's just Kevin Huerter. No, he's going to be better than Kevin Huerter. And I have no doubt in my mind that he is going to be like a really solid contributor for the next iteration of the Raptors when they become good. I do also want to say, though, something. I had him ranked as like the 19th or 20th best player in the 2023 draft. And I had Jacoby as 17th best player in last year's draft. To me, these 2 players are tomato. I don't draw a huge difference between them. Not as players. They were very different players. But I mean, in terms of how much I value them. Like, if you're going to say to me, okay, Rob, what would it take for me to get Jacoby Walter off of you? I'd probably be like a first, like a really, a lottery pick in the 2024 draft would probably, a 2025 draft would probably do it. But if you ask me the same question about Gradey, it would be the same offer. So I think of these 2 players as very relatively similar prospects. And actually, I think of them both on the same Emmanuel Quickley tier of player. So to me, they're all complementary stars. None of them necessarily project to be superstars. None of them project to be like multi-time all-stars. If Gradey or IQ or Jacoby make it to an all-star game, maybe it'll be a couple all-star games, maybe one all-star game if things really go right for them. But none of them project to have the upside of a Darius Garland or an Evan Mobley or a Jared Allen right now or a Donovan Mitchell. So this is why you're tanking, because you do need one more player who has that kind of upside. And if you're thinking, oh, Rob must really think RJ has that kind of upside. No, I don't. I don't think RJ has more upside than Darius Garland. I don't think RJ has more upside than Evan Mobley. I don't think RJ has more upside. You cannot go into battle long term when you think about the other young cores around the league. When you look at the other young cores in the East, who are you ahead of? If you don't tank this year, to those of you who think maybe tanking is futile, Justin, stop. You're so dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. You've been spamming this comment pretty much in the chat, in the comments. What are you? You got a crush on Cade? You like him? You like his eyes? You like his hair? You like the Dickies? What's your issue, man? You want to change your last name to Cunningham? Lord help me. Banned over and over again. The K dick riding really needs to stop, man. Y'all really just need to stop. Okay. Point. Get to my point. My God. Why you keep falling for the bait? I don't know. Where was I? I've lost my train of thought. I've completely lost my train of thought. Right. Tanking. Yo, when you look at the other young cores around the league, Detroit. That's a great young core around the East. Atlanta. I'd say those are the lesser cores. The higher level cores, obviously, when you're talking about young cores, I'm not talking established cores like, you know, Indiana, where like one of your core members are. I guess you could throw Indiana in there because Tyrese Halliburton's sort of young, but you're looking at the Charlottes, the Atlantas, right? Teams like that. Teams that have one established A1 guy, Trey Young being somewhat young, LaMelo Ball being somewhat young, even though they're a little bit older than Scotty, they're still considered young players in the league. And then you look at what the complementary pieces are around them. If you look at Atlanta, it's like, okay, well, you got Onyeka Okongwu. That's a pretty serviceable guy. You got DeAndre Hunter. That was a former lottery pick. You got Dyson Daniels, former lottery pick. Zachary Risache, former lottery pick. And you start stacking that core and just remove the star from the equation. Remove Cade from Detroit. Remove Scotty from Toronto. Remove Tyrese Halliburton from Indiana. Remove these guys and just look at the rest of the team. Remove the star from the context and look at the rest of their team. Where do you rank the Raptors score? Right? I think it's a lot better than it was last year. I'll tell you that because Jacoby is a major hit. I think Jonathan Mobo has a lot of potential. I'm really high on Jameson Battle, and Jamal Shed is showing me all sorts of stuff to be excited about. Grady's turning it around. Ochai Baji has been a very serviceable role player. So there's some pieces to work with here. You need more, though. You need more because what I didn't talk about was what happens when you remove Paolo from the equation in Orlando. You know what happens when you remove Paolo from the equation in Orlando? There's still a 45 to 50 win team. Franz, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac. Every player I'm naming is under 30. Sorry. Anthony Black, Jet Howard. I don't really know about Jet Howard, panning out, but that is a young player on that team. Caleb Houston. I mean, Tristan da Silva, he lit us up looking like a superstar against us. So, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to focus on here. Okay, we got Lil Jon calling in here. My point is overall, once you add the lottery pick to the equation for the Raptors, be it Cooper Flag, be it VJ Edgecombe, be it Dylan Harper, be it I don't know, Kasparis Yakachonis, be it Kaman Malawach, I think you'll feel a lot better about this core. And especially when you stack this core minus Scotty against the rest of the East. All right, Lil Jon, there's going to be one call. And we're at 48 minutes. We'll try to get out of here in an hour. Lil Jon, what's up?
What's good, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Last time I came on, I think you cut me off. You were like, it was New Year's. I don't know if you remember. You were like, yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yes.
But
What was the crux of our disagreement? It was about Scotty Barnes for sure.
yeah, it was the 3-point shooting. But I'm not even gonna start with that. I love what I'm seeing from him recently with these mid-range jumpers. Just very really just warms my heart. These are just unguardable shots that I'm like, this is stuff that this is some superstar shit that he's doing inside the arc, which I love to see. I love that he's. It is a little interesting that he's exclusively just left the threes. I do wish like he can find a little bit of a balance, but
He
I'm not
hit
even gonna.
3 last game.
I mean, just over the last 2 weeks, it's kind of just gone all mid range. But I don't really want to talk about Scotty. I thought he played great tonight. I do want to focus on Emmanuel quickly. I was listening to your live that Brooklyn game when you
Mhm.
were like, man, the commentators, I think it was Matt and Jack, they got real excited about having a point guard back, right? and how this is going to make everyone's life easier, and this is a real point guard. And I'm just not seeing point guard from quickly. Like he's picking up his dribble, he's loose with the ball. The first step, it seems slower.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything downhill. Paint pressure. I'm not seeing any of that compared to some of these other top end guards. So that's like worrying me because it's like we paid this guy 175 million, and you can't pressure the paint, can't dribble. You're like even the 3 point shooting, I'm not worried about. I don't know
Okay.
what he's shooting. I'm not. I don't know what he's shooting currently, but I'm not worried about that. That he has that, but I'm just real. I'm like terrified. Like, is this contract gonna haunt us?
No. No, I don't think it's going to haunt you at all. I think it's a perfectly fine contract. It's not underpaid. It's not.
I know the CBA is changing, but you, like if you whenever you're signing a contract, it's like you want it to be potentially a steal, right? And this contract is gonna be
When's the last
if
time the Raptors signed a contract that was a steal?
it's been a while, man. Probably OG, that second one.
Yep.
That was
That
that
was it.
was a that was a borderline, like that was crazy. But like when you sign a person to a contract, you envision it being potentially a steal, and this is gonna be if it even works out, it's gonna be he's gonna be right around worth 160, 170. Like it's not nowhere near a steal. It's gonna be like a, a,
Well, you have a
a, a
crystal. You have a crystal ball that you can see exactly the type of player Emmanuel quickly is going to be in 4 years.
and he's 25. I know that's extremely young, but like you should be like somewhere near the player you're gonna be by 25. You should be like 90% there.
I don't think that's going to be the case with IQ, man. I think he's one of those players that's going to get a lot better as he ages. Like, I mean, his game is not Derrick Rose. It's not reliant on that. It's like he's got to be craftier. He's got to get even tighter with his handle. His handle is fine. His
It's
basketball IQ, ironically, IQ, his basketball IQ needs to get a little bit better. I I think that it's worth noting that he is coming back from an injury. There's some elements of that, but I I think there were so many competent bursts last year, so many, right?
yeah.
And yeah, like I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be De'Aaron Fox, but you're not paying him to be De'Aaron Fox, are you? Right? And as the CBA continues to go up, at some point towards the latter end of the deal, it's going to be a very reasonable $32 million. I mean, if we look around the league, yeah, I mean, you could argue the downside on this contract is he ends up being a $15 million player, and the upside
Goodness.
is that he's a $35 million player.
That's what
So
I mean. There's not much upside.
there's not a lot of upside risk, and I think the Raptors took a lot of that. They took a lot of the downside risk because they trust him.
Like for example, Scotty, his like his rookie max, in the middle of that rookie max, that contract very well could be like like one of the best contracts in the NBA. You know what I mean? Very
Sure,
well could be,
especially because he's not going to make the All NBA team this year.
especially exactly. But like that's going to be potentially a steal if he gets to the player that we think he can get to. But quickly, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
that contract is going to be either right where it is right now, or he's going to be just below it. Um, yeah, I'm a little disappointed with quickly. However, you did make a good point there. He is coming back from injury. I don't really know what that has to do with the handle and the size and the paint, but
I think
um,
basketball is rhythm, right? Like it's a lot of rhythm related stuff. So obviously, if you're talking about it from the perspective of, you know, like just getting comfortable with your teammates, like being a point guard in the NBA has a lot to do with your teammates. You need to get some established rhythm with your players. You need to pick and choose your spots. Obviously, your shot's not feeling super great right now. He's been cold, right? So that part of that is rhythm. But I mean, we have enough of a sample at this point to know that Emmanuel quickly is not a -4 box plus minus player. Like you have
is
to
that
be able to
is that
see.
what he is on the season?
Oh yeah, he's bad. He's really bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotten worse after today. Um, Grady, I mean, the defense is so bad. It's really bad. Like it's just more minutes. He's getting exposed. they were running that two-man action with
Hmm.
him in the ball screen to end the game. They had to take him out. They put in Chris Boucher, who is not much better defensively.
Hmm.
Um, what are you seeing with Gradey? Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm a lot lower on him than some people are. Um, I'm not seeing like every time he puts the ball on the floor, it gets poked out of his hands. The three-point shooting, I've always told you. There was someone I was listening to who like does like draft stuff, and he was kind of like insinuating that Grady isn't as good of a three-point shooter. Like again, this is just his opinion, and that kind of always stuck with me. So again, I know he's really young, and three-point shooting for him also can improve. But even that is kind of frightening for me because for him to be the player that we need him to be, he's going to have to be near 40. And again, there's so much other issues with him with the size, the handle, the defense. Like, what are your thoughts on him currently?
I think as long as adjustments are realistic, sorry, expectations are realistic, I think the work will show. Grady has proven himself to be a very hard worker. He's traveled, the length of the earth from last year to this year. And, when young players show me development from year one to year two, and his game is just so much better than last year, then I tend to trust that. And as it pertains to the shooting, I mean, look at his shot form. Form your own opinion. I think the shooting form is beautiful. It's a beautiful shooting form. It's not going in partially because I think it's partially conditioning, it's partially strength. There's some strength that actually needs to go into shooting the basketball, like upper body strength. I mean, he was a really lights out shooter in college. He was a good shooter in college, you know. And again, you're pushing him away from zones where he's really comfortable. He's still drawing a lot of attention as a shooter. When's the last time you saw a defense leave him? He's being guarded like he's a great shooter. Okay. So when you guarded like a great shooter and you don't have the experience and you don't necessarily even know, like they're grabbing him a lot. Like, there was a lot of energy burned, I think, earlier in the year, just kind of like burning himself out, running around screens, running, 4 or 5 different laps around the court trying to get open. And while all that movement is great, not everybody is Rip Hamilton and Steph Curry. That is very taxing on your legs. And if you run a lot, yeah, like it's going to be hard to keep your legs for your jumper. So I have no doubt that Grady is going to be perfectly fine. I think the Raptors absolutely,
Okay,
got a great pick.
defensively though, however, like we're gonna need a Rudy Gobert level anchor to
No,
for
man,
him to be a
no,
starter.
no. Why do people buy so much into what they're seeing on the court every single night? I mean, look, realistically,
I mean, that's what we're supposed to do.
RJ plus Grady is a really bad defensive combination that no coach trying to win basketball games would ever put onto the court together. Long term, obviously, I think these two are like oil and water. It's going to be really hard to play them both together unless one of them gets significantly better defensively. And I'm not really sure which of them can get significantly better defensively. So I think that you're
RJ's gone.
well, I don't
RJ's
know
gone.
if he's gone because obviously he's a hometown kid and, that's a feel good story for everybody. And he wants to be here. And, for all intents and purposes and by all accounts, he's been really, really good and positive for your culture and for your locker room and probably very positive for your bottom line. So I don't necessarily think them throwing RJ to the Wolves, unless, of course, they see a great situation for him, right, is going to be in the cards. You gotta understand, this is Masai Ujiri we're talking about. Okay, this is Masai Ujiri. Okay, he's not about to throw a dear friend's son to the Charlotte Hornets because they offer a first round pick or something, right? It's not going to be easy to trade RJ Barrett, or it's not going to be an easy decision that they're going to make. This is not going to be like tossing Terrence Ross away. You know what I mean? So that's number one.
That's fair. That's fair. But
Number two, I would say this: if in the end, if you end up staggering their minutes, that's not really like a problem for me. Neither one of these players are star players. So it doesn't really matter if I stagger their minutes. I mean, there's definitely certain lineups of bigs I would never play together. I mean, I'm not playing Zach Edey and Jake Voshkol together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just certain players that kind of get in each other's way. I wouldn't play Rasha Nesterovic and Tim Duncan together. It's nothing personal against Rasha or Tim. You just don't fit. So, Jacoby fits with both. So I think that's worth noting. Jacoby, because of his defensive upside and shooting, kind of fits with everybody. And I think that's what makes Jacoby very valuable for the Raptors long term. What I'm saying about Gradey is I think in a scheme where you're trying to win, you'll be able to hide him perfectly well. You'll be able to hide him very well.
Ben, like in today's NBA, with how the offense is so amazing, like night in, night out, like the only way you can win at the highest level is through being like a top 5 defense, top 10 D. Like you're seeing Orlando just choke teams. Like just
Is Paolo a good defender?
no, I'm lower on Pelo.
Right. So Paolo's not a good defender. How is Orlando so good?
He's not a good defender, but he's big. And
Cade's a terrible defender.
I don't think Cade is as bad as you think defensively. He's gotten a lot better this year, but
I think he's pretty bad. Okay. What about okay, Jalen Green? Jalen Green starts for a really good defense. Isn't he terrible?
I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea how Houston is doing it with some of the
Alperen Şengün is okay defensively. What I'm saying is scheme makes up for everything. Okay, when you have a scheme, and I don't mean to use the word scheme like overuse it, but I'm trying to differentiate between actual talent and scheme. Luka was in the finals last year, and Luka is a freaking pylon. Okay, Jokic is not a good defender. There's scheme, there's personnel, there's like Scotty Barnes, Ochai Agbaji, Jakob Poeltl.
That's pretty much.
That's enough scheme. That's enough schemable pieces that you could be a bottom. I mean, can we be real for a second? With Scotty Barnes in the lineup through the first 30 games of this season, so this is before all the blowouts started happening. The Raptors were a top 16 defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's with RJ and Gradey. So, I mean, it's just worth noting that the Raptors are just burnt out, man. They don't have a rim protector in the. They don't have elite rim protection, so you don't need Rudy Gobert. You need Christian Coloco. You need Walker Kessler. You need somebody who can just block shots. Like honestly, and once that's there, then you need to coach that element of your defense and say, okay, well this we're forcing towards help. I think Gradey's advantage is he's not small. As he gets stronger, he's committed to that end of the floor. Like he tries. He does try. He certainly tries. It's just he's caught on an island against Jalen Green and John Morant with 45 feet of space. And I'm like, I'm sorry. There aren't 10 defenders in the league who can stop anybody in that situation. How are you expecting Gradey Dick to do anything about it?
And then also Jakob has declined massively as well.
Yes.
Like tonight, Jakob, like I don't know if you were paying attention to it. He's been terrorized by Jared Allen for a couple of years now. So he's when Garland's driving to the basket, he's just sticking next to Allen. He's giving up the layup because he doesn't want Allen to get offensive rebounds over and over again. So just as a big man, you're supposed to be able to guard the ball and the big, right? And he can't. Like I know that's kind of unfair to do over and over again, but like he just was giving Garland layups because sometimes big men they get real like sensitive. They want their opposing big to like not score. So
Sure.
I guess that's fair. There's a lot of holes on the team, and I guess Gradey because he's the worst of the holes. He looks a little bit worse. That's fair.
It's funny. It kind of sounded like you said there was a lot of hoes on the team.
I do think we're a little soft. I'm gonna be honest.
A little soft.
No, just when you said hose, I was like, I think we're a little soft. I think we need a Dylan Brooks, man. We need like a psycho.
A psycho.
Yeah, we need someone with a little crazy. I would love Dylan Brooks on this team. Closing, I would like to say, are these Scotty jump shots, the mid-range jump shots, are they not like blowing your mind how efficient and how like quickly he's discovered this? Like I don't know if you see the stats, but he's one of the best in the NBA at like 10 feet.
I know. I've been talking about this.
He did not have that. He did not have like. He had a little bit of it in the past, but like, this is like over the summer work. Like a lot of this.
Of course, this was a lot of this was in the summer.
This was this year.
No, man, this was there last year. This was there towards the end of last year. He was dominant doing this. And I was like, this has to be what he does this summer, all summer. I want one step in the paint, one step out, fade away, one step, turn around, fade away. This is not going to be stopped. And he's been working on this for the last 4 years, just to be clear.
Yeah,
Four
I know he's been
years.
working it for years, but it's kind of translated this year.
It translated
Sometimes
last
it
year.
doesn't.
I'm
Sometimes
not,
it.
I'm not trying to argue with you. I watch all of Scotty's possessions last year. I did a breakdown. I'm not gonna get like I'm not sitting here trying to get gaslit on this. Like trust me. Like last year, go back and watch that step back that he hit on OKC on Jalen Williams. The turnaround. It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. It's just a higher volume of it. It's a little bit more fluid now. But there were so many spurts of it. I wish I could find the video for you.
Maybe he's not afraid to take it. He's not afraid to take it. You know what I mean? Like
But
it's
this is what I'm talking about. Look, with young players, you don't look for large samples. You look for small samples, replicable small samples. Okay. With Gradey Dick, what you've already seen this year is a massively improved player. Whether he carries it out for the rest of the year is irrelevant. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? He's 20, 21 years old. It doesn't matter. Bodies are not built for 82 games when you're 20, 21 years old. It's the same thing with Jacoby. I've seen enough from Jacoby that if he literally sits out the rest of the year, I'm still high on him. He could shoot 0 for 40 for the rest of the season and then collect the MPCDs. I don't really care. It's the same thing with Scotty. The thing with Scotty is those bursts that we saw in the fourth quarter during his second year struggles, the mid-range stuff that we saw last year in the short mid-range, these are the glimpses. If you're watching, you pay attention. Now, are you watching or are you waiting for Aaron Rose to tell you what the numbers are? Because that's when people wake up to it, right? What I'm trying to say is there's
I agree.
like if somebody saw Derek White when he was playing D2, it was very, you'd just be like, that's an NBA player right there. But you're going to wait. You're going to wait until he gets to the league. Then, he goes through the rigmarole with San Antonio. And now you can say, oh, that's an NBA player. And someone out there is going to be like, yo, watch this guy play in D2. He was clearly an NBA player. And be like, nah, but he just put it together today. It's like, no, man, the work is the work. Scotty has been, and again, the physics of Scotty have always been obvious. When he takes those shots, as clunky as fuck as they were in year 2 and 3, you could see that there was so much separation, even with the clunkiness. And the whole point of fluidity is to create more separation. But fluidity comes through repetitions. It comes through repetitions and refinements. Repetition, refinement, repetition, refinement. That's through the summer. And so, like Scotty's a worker. I trust players who have natural talent, who work hard. Grady's a worker too. Jacoby's a big time worker as well. I don't doubt any of these kids. They're going to be perfectly fine.
That's good to hear.
Noble Venom kind of co-signing what you're saying here said, I get what the caller is saying. The short mid-range has become an integral part of his shot diet this season. Prior seasons, he showed flashes, but it wasn't a huge part of his shot diet like it is now. Look, so maybe
the volume is up.
The volume is clearly up. But again, when I'm talking about young players, which is specifically players under 25, I'm looking for quarters. So if Scotty goes to this move 4 times against a tough matchup and he creates separation all 4 times, I'm banking that into, boom, he can do this. I don't need to see it 500 times. I need to see it 4 times, and I need to see it work 4 times, and I need to know that he's the type of player who wants to dominate. You know what I mean? Like how many perfect repetition 3-point shots would you need to see from Shaquille O'Neal before you believe Shaquille O'Neal was a great 3-point shooter?
Long time.
No, I would need 4. Perfect form, perfect replicable form. Have you seen Shaq's form?
I mean, Shaq, you picked a bad example. If you said someone like a little less,
Christian Coloco.
Okay, Coloco, yeah, less years of experience, or so yeah, I agree. It would be less.
That's all I'm saying. So again, when you really, really trust your eye on the scouting, you don't need a huge sample size. Now, sometimes it can burn you. It really can, because sometimes it is against the wrong sample. So again, I watched Scoot in high school and I was like, boom, he's great. He's going to be great. Boom. And I got it in my mind. He's going to be great. And then suddenly the anchoring bias became really real with him, to the point where I couldn't see all the gaps that he was struggling. I couldn't see the turnovers in G League level. And now I'm struggling hard to understand, what did I miss with Scoot Henderson? How did I get this so wrong? He's an undersized guard. Shit. And I'm still here coping, saying, maybe it's worth for the Raptors to take a flyer because, he had this one good game here and one good game here. It's like, if you can't create consistent separation at the NBA level, you will not be successful at the NBA level. It's just that simple. He's not creating consistent separation.
Yeah,
Gradey, on the other hand, is. That's the difference. That's why I'm not worried.
I agree. I mean, yeah, you're right. When he does separate, it does look good. I would like to see him get a little stronger with the ball, because he does get ripped a lot. But then again, as you say, physically, he's not ready. He's absolutely not ready physically, which I can't agree with.
He's a player that would have benefited tremendously from a couple of years of college basketball.
Oh, okay. For sure. If he would have done 3 years at Kansas, I think he would be better probably right now. Like he just needs to be like 23. Right. 24. Yeah.
Right. And honestly, it might work out really, really well in the Raptors' favor if he's a late bloomer, because that way you don't have to max him out. If he becomes an all-star later.
You're making me feel better about it, because I've lost, like, I've been disgusted what I've been seeing Gradey. Like, I understand. I don't want to be like a guy
disgusted.
Who gets, yeah, I mean, man, because you know why? It's because I heard so many things about him being by far and away the best player asset outside of Barnes. I'm just watching and I'm like, well, once someone's held to like a standard, once he's held to a standard,
okay, make the case for somebody who's not Gradey. Who's the best asset on this team other than Scotty Barnes? If it's not Gradey, who is it?
Oh, 2 weeks ago, I would have said quickly.
Okay, and now?
Now, I'm back to Gradey. I'm back to Gradey. Okay. Listen, I changed my mind quick, man. I changed my mind quick. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Okay, hold on. I'll pull this up.
I don't know what I saw from.
Are you're seeing the screen in front of you?
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. So from last year to this year, his 2-point shooting is actually down. Believe it or not, his effective field goal percentage is down. His true shooting percentage is marginally down, but his free throw rate is nearly twice. His 3-point rate has gotten down a little bit as well. I think that it's also worth noting that his overall efficiency as an offensive player has gone up tremendously. His usage is up. His turnovers aren't up tremendously. So the assist rate is climbing faster than the turnover percentage, which is very good. Believe it or not, despite getting 1 rebound today, his rebounding has been better overall. But the most encouraging thing about a 3-level scorer is, number one, how difficult are your shots and how efficient are you at making them? His shot diet last year was so freaking easy. I'm being straight up. He had some of the easiest shots in the league generated for him. This year is a lot of self-generation. It's a lot more on him to do what he's doing. And he's being guarded completely differently. The volume is important here, though. The efficiency may not have caught up, and it was way better earlier in the season. And now it's just sort of tailing off as he's had like really disastrous, results lately. But we're talking about a guy who's averaging nearly 26 points per 100 possessions after averaging 19.4 last year. That is a steady growth. I think that's a steady growth. We're talking about a guy who went from averaging 1.9 free throw attempts per 100 possessions, which is a piss poor free throw rate for a guard. I mean, that was the most depressing part of his statistics profile. That was the one thing I wanted to see get better. He's gotten up to 5.1. He's attacking. He's attacking and he's not finishing. So what happens next year when he's attacking but he's finishing? Well, suddenly that field goal percentage goes from 40.6 to probably 46. And maybe the 3-point shot this year, it's at 34.9. Last year was 36.5. Maybe next year it's at 37. Now we're talking about a 20-point per game score. It really doesn't take that much. I mean, the advanced box score, not so great right now, negative 3.2 box plus minus. But if you look at his chart earlier in the season, holy crap, this guy was damn near positive box plus minus for most of the start. Take a look. So early in the season.
You know what I was just thinking? It's almost as if he hit a rookie wall.
He did.
But it's his second year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's pretty much, ever since that game. Do you remember that game he had against the Celtics where they put Derek White on him?
Mhm.
It feels like ever since then, it's kind of been like, whoa, this is a different level. And again, when you're on the scouting report, things change, and you know, fans like me start to question who you are. But again,
Well,
I got to
actually,
keep
the
it.
game before against Detroit was arguably one of his worst. But if you stack all of his performances this year, his best games came early in the season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Minnesota, OKC. I mean, if you want to talk about encouraging, his four best games this year came against Minnesota, OKC, Milwaukee, and Denver. His fifth best game came against the Lakers. That's that's a very good sign. I'm sorry. That's a great sign. I mean, they all came in losses, but that's a good sign. He didn't beast against Charlotte. His worst game came against New York, I believe, which was the other day. Yeah, it was
I mean,
literally
his
his
worst
his
games have,
worst game of the season was against New York last game. So he's slumping hard right now. Like
yeah,
last game
some of
was
his
his
worst games have been like the last 2 weeks.
oh for sure. Did you want to guess what Chris Boucher's single game box minus was against New York?
Oh, yesterday's.
Yeah.
So he played like 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it it it,
No, he
it
didn't play
has to,
10 minutes. He played 4 minutes.
and he scored 10 points, right?
Uh-huh.
It has to be insane.
Just guess.
Uh, so okay, a pretty high
Raven
boxes.
guessing plus 11. Okay.
A pretty high boxes minus is like there. I think Jamal Shed had a boxes minus that was insane that one game. I
Yeah, it
would
was like
say like
30.
50,
Okay.
and that's crazy.
You're wrong. It was actually 83.2.
Yeah, that's insane.
Chris Boucher put together the best 3 minutes and 58 seconds of basketball in maybe basketball history. I've never seen an 83.2 boxes minus in any walk of life ever. I mean, I've seen a 47 for like 1 minute where a guy came in and had a block, a steal, and a rebound and 2 points or some crazy shit like that. But this is legit insane. Like, I was just like, my God. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just rival GMs out there, please give us a first round pick for Chris Boucher. Anyways, all right. Any final thoughts, man?
Yeah, just closing. Just quick draft takes. Again, I don't know if you're how deep you're like into it, but again, with all the losing, I don't know. It's hard not to check out some games and check out some YouTube footage. Um, Kasper's Yakochonis.
Close enough.
Hopefully I
Yep.
said that. Hopefully I said that right.
Mm-hmm.
He's rising up the draft boards, kind of like again not similar to Scotty. Kind of has more of a jump shot at the same similar age. Really nice player. Again, he's mocked to the Raptors a lot. Ace has fallen. I think he had a rough game tonight. Ace again. Would you say Ace is the most divisive, like top end, uh,
Polarizing.
like in recent history? Would you agree? Because like
No,
there's a lot of smart people that like him, and there's a lot of smart people who hate him.
I don't know if he's the most divisive in recent history. I would say Paolo is very, very polarizing for most
He was,
people.
and he still is kind of.
Jabari was very polarizing.
Oh, I love Jabari, man.
Brandon Miller was very polarizing.
I love
Shaden Sharp
Jabari.
was extremely polarizing. I'm trying to think of who else.
That's kind of different though. The shading one doesn't count because he didn't play, so it was kind of like, eh.
Still polarizing. That was the question.
But Ace, man, this is like it's a different level. Like people are going to war online about him.
Mm.
I mean, the shot making is incredible. 3-point shooting is
I think
incredible.
it sort of challenges what we value overall. Like,
Yeah,
what do you value as in
yeah,
terms of basketball? What do you care about? And I think with a lot of people, they really value shot making. They value the aesthetic part of the game. And Gil's Arena and places like Gil's Arena are probably going to lose their minds if he slips past 6 and some guy like VJ Edgecombe or someone with a lesser bag or a more refined NBA role ends up going ahead of him, right?
yeah.
But that's kind of where we're at. Okay, let's just check the mock draft here.
You know what I really want? I really want Rutgers to make the NCAA tournament and Ace to have a couple of good games and people just to go wild.
I'm so sad to say that Ace Bailey is currently mocked to the Raptors. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Okay.
I'm not against
Sim
it.
the lottery. Damn it. We get ace. Dylan Harper. Kasper Siakachonis. Dylan Harper. Yakuchonis. Ace Bailey. Dylan Harper.
I'm not gonna lie. I was on this
Yakuchonis.
website like 30 minutes ago after the loss.
Did you get Cooper Flag ever?
I think I got first pick twice in like 10 tries.
Finally got Cooper Flag. We're gonna leave it there. Yeah, I play it until the Raptors get Cooper, and then I just move away from it. I can't tell you right now how big a gap I see between him and the rest of this. But that's so interesting that they changed the draft picks based on who gets the draft, who gets the pick. So there must be something baked into the Tankathon, algorithm that says that Brooklyn would prefer Ace Bailey over Dylan Harper, which is very interesting because I don't necessarily even think that that's true at all. I think Brooklyn takes Dylan Harper and runs for the hills.
Ken, isn't it so crazy that back then, if you just lost all your games, you were destined to get the first pick? Like,
No, that's never happened.
no, like not
You had
destined,
25% chance. I
but
mean,
that's
that's
insane
significantly
now.
higher than 14%.
Like
But
looking
is it
back,
really 25% is not that high? I mean, it's high, but it's not that high.
I mean,
You're
but
not guaranteed.
you're guaranteed probably like top three.
Sure.
But
But
like that's a big
but
deal
in a
though.
draft that has Tim Duncan as the number one pick, do you remember who the third pick in the Tim Duncan draft was?
That was 97?
Mm-hmm.
No clue. Maybe let me see if I can show off my basketball knowledge. Who was that guy? It's a white guy.
Mm-mm.
Van Horn?
No, he was the number 2 pick.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Oh, Chauncey Billups.
Yep.
Wow, yeah, to Boston.
Okay, so that's so what I'm saying is if you tanked that year, you didn't tank for Chauncey Billups and Keith Van Horn. You were tanking for Tim
No, I
Duncan, right?
agree, but like, isn't it crazy that if you were bad, like things were gonna work out. Like you could be bad now, and you're like, I'm playing Tankathon, and we're seventh. I'm like, what? We're gonna do all this for seventh?
Yeah,
It sucks.
it could very easily fall to 7th. It could also go up to 1. I mean, look, if
It
you're
sucks.
the worst team in the league, you hate this. You hate
I know.
this.
It
But if
sucks.
you're everybody else, you should love it.
Yeah,
Do you not
like
understand that? Do you understand how okay, let me see. What were the former lottery odds? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 25%, 18%, 14%. Let me just see.
Sam Hinkie was a genius, man. I love that guy.
No, fuck that guy. That guy ruined basketball. I hate that guy. No, I don't like Sam Hinkie. No, Sam
I
Hinkie
would have
was
hated it if I was a Sixers fan, but like looking back, like that guy, he set them up, man.
no, he didn't. They have never even been to a finals.
I know, but
Sam
that's
Hinkie.
because I mean, I'm
No,
sorry.
salute
That's not
Masai
his fault.
Ujiri.
Embiid is made out of glass.
Well, is it not part of it? Like, I mean,
I
like,
mean, Simmons, is that his fault?
sure, you do
I mean,
psychological evaluation of players before you draft them.
and yeah, okay. And then he messed up the Okafor pick, but whatever.
Sure. And Okafor's career was pretty much ruined for it. Okay, let me just see here. 25. I'm not okay. So I'm trying to see what the odds used to be. Okay, so that's interesting. So in 1993, I mean, I'm actually going to flash my screen here because I think this is a fantastic thing for everybody in our chat to learn about as well. So the odds were changed, believe it or not. There you go. So in 1993, it was actually much more similar to what it is right now.
Wait, it used to be flattened?
It used to be close to flattened. So in 1993, the odds that the number one worst pick, we get 16.6%, which is still significantly higher than 14% today. But those odds were very much flattened. However, in 1994, the worst team got 25% odds when the other 3 teams, which are below them, got 16.4 each. And then it went descending from there. However, I believe that changed again. Let me see here. So in 2019, the odds were changed to 14, 14, 14. So they flattened it at the very, very top. And this is really like this right here. This graph shows, hopefully, to you guys how much better a deal it is for you if you're like the 7th team or the 6th team, right? Because if you're the 7th team, you've never had a better shot at the top.
Oh
ever.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Right? A 7, like that's crazy. You've never had a better shot.
Who's 7th right now? Like Chicago? Maybe they're a little above 7. I'm like, they're in play.
The 7th team right now is Portland.
Portland, yeah.
So Brooklyn has somehow managed to get down to the bottom. They've lost 3 straight. They're 2-8 in their last, some odd games. Not long ago, Brooklyn was firmly in the play-in. Since trading Dennis Schroeder, they've basically been free falling. And I believe Cam Johnson is also out. So that's another reason they're free falling.
I don't think Cam Johnson's playing another game.
Facts.
It's in the cards.
Right. So right now it is, it's a 5-team race to the bottom. And they're all separated by 3 wins. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. Again, if you're a Raptors fan, all the people who are like, we need to lose, like actually, we need to win games and try to get some of these guys to develop. Gradey, Scotty, that's more important because losing and winning, there's no difference. The odds, it's barely going to change.
What are you talking about? I disagree with that completely. No, losing is very important here.
No, I don't mean like winning. Like again, this team is built to lose. But I mean like a win every now and then isn't going to hurt.
What are
you
talking
if they
about?
won tonight.
If you won tonight, you automatically just fell down to 4th. If you win one more, and you're down to 6th or 5th. Like look, you need to realize is later on the Raptors have a really, really easy schedule.
Yeah,
there are some wins that are sort of baked into that later on. Now you also have to realize that a lot of these teams, Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, Utah, Brooklyn, they have to face each other at some point too. So none of these teams are just going to go like over. I mean, maybe one of these teams can go over, but they can't all go over because they have to play each other. And they also have to play the Raptors. The Raptors have one more game against New Orleans. The Raptors have 4 games against Washington.
Yeah,
4. So right now, let's just say the next 4 games are all against Washington and you win all 4. Okay?
It's bad.
Congratulations. You now have the 5th record as opposed to the 3rd. Now, let me flip it. What if you lose all 4? You have the first pick. You know what I mean? And when I say here's the reason why I don't think that you're fully appreciating the reason that's Hank. It's the odds calculator. That's the most important thing. If you have the worst record, what's the worst pick you can end up with?
I believe it's 4 or 5.
5. If you have the 5th worst record, what's the worst pick you can end up with?
I don't know. 7, 8.
9th. If you have the 6th worst record, what's the worst pick you can end up with?
What is it?
10th. If you have, now hear me out. If you have the 10th record, 10th, like let's just say you do go for a play-in and then you fizzle out of the play-in and you end up with the 10th worst record. Sure, you still have an 11 to 12% chance at a top 5 pick or a top 4 pick. You have no chance at a 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th pick. But you have a 65.9% chance of staying put at 10th and a 19% chance of moving down to 11th, a 1.22 chance of moving to 12th or 13th, and a less than 1% chance of moving to 14th. That can happen to you if you're the 9th team. So ergo, control what you can control. Mathematically, it makes no sense. Like, if nothing else, the mobility of these odds is what is important right now. Like, sorry, what am I trying to say here? I don't want to be 7th and fall back to 11th because that's a disaster. Now, it's highly improbable. It's highly unlikely to happen, but you could be 7th and very easily move back to 9th. There's a 12.88% chance. So Let me put it this way. The odds of you moving from 7th to 9th are just as good as your odds of getting the first, they're almost as good as your odds of getting the first overall pick with the worst record. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's like, it's tough, man. Like, the only reason these odds work is that the top 3 worst teams have identical odds at 1 through 4. They all have identical odds 1 through 4, right? But when it comes down to the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, that's where you're like, that's where you start to get screwed. So if you're the second worst team in the league, which is I think realistic for the Raptors to aim for, if you shut players down, you start, like start playing Jacoby and Ulrich major minutes, Jamal Shed, Davion Mitchell, start experimenting with 10 days, whatever. Like, you've done all your work early. So now, we've lost Lil Jon. I'm just having a conversation with myself. My bad. So what I'm trying to say is, if you do all this work early, that was really funny. My bad. If you do all this work early, then there is at least a chance for you to. There's very little chance that you're going to fall back super far in the draft. And I'm one of those people that believes that a great general manager and a great, front office like this, I would like them to pick as high as possible in a good draft. Now, it doesn't matter to me what. Well, I'll make this very clear. The guy you pick at 5 might be there at 8. He might be there at 8. Hell, the Raptors have this very unorthodox way of drafting where there's a chance that they pick a guy at 5 who might be there for them at 11. The hell if I know. But I want them to have that opportunity. Number one, I want them to have that opportunity for that reason. Number two, I want them to have the opportunity in case somebody falls. Now, let's say last minute there's some concerns about Dylan Harper's interview with Charlotte or something like that, and some rumor goes ablaze, and Dylan Harper falls to number 5. Well, you can't get him if you're at number 7, and somebody's going to scoop it up. Ergo, with the draft, the rule of thumb is higher is better. Always aim for the highest pick. Can't control what you can't control, obviously. You're not going to control, you can be the worst team and end up with a 5th. And weirdly enough, if you look, I think this tanking stuff really, and I'm not trying to be rude, this really displays just how bad people are at math sometimes, if you really think about it. Let me show you what I mean. Now, people were really shocked last year when the Detroit Pistons moved from the worst pick to the 5th pick. Here are the odds of the 5th pick when you have the worst record. 47.8%. They did it 2 years in a row. 47.8% is roughly the same odds as a number, as the ball landing on red on a roulette wheel. So you have, like, if you want to consider it like a roulette wheel, 1, 2, 3, 4 is black, 5 is red. Are you crying conspiracy when the ball hits red? No. It's pretty much 50-50. So this is where I say people are really bad at math. The only thing that changes when you're the second worst team is this odds of 5th gets split between 5 and 6. And when you're the third team, the odds of being 5th get split between 5th, 6th, and 7th. However, hear me out. If you just look at this strictly from what is your most likely, let me show you what I mean. The most likely pick when you have the worst record is the 5th pick. The most likely pick when you have the second worst record is the 5th. When you're third, the most likely is the 6th. When you're 4th, the most likely is the 6th. When you're 5th, the most likely is the 7th. When you're 6th, the most likely is the 7th. So the further you fall down this draft order, the less likely you are to move down, the more likely you are to move up. That's how the odds have been weighted. Okay. That's what I'm saying. However, the downside insurance risk of being the worst team is that you can never finish any worse than 5th. This is a perfect lottery system, in my opinion, my humble opinion. If I designed the NBA lottery odds, this is exactly how I would do it. It's perfect. It totally de-incentivizes tanking. I don't know if the word is disincentivize or de-incentivize. Either way, you get my point. So, right. So again, when you have the worst record in the league, you assume that means you're supposed to get the first overall pick because that's the way things have been. But you actually have nowhere to go but down. You have nowhere to go but down. And it's going to become increasingly unlikely that the team with the worst record actually gets the first overall pick. That's why it's impossible to tank. That's what I'm trying to say. You have no advantage because, again, you have no advantage because the drawing is done from a pool of this right here, right? So if I have 100 things, 100 names, 14 of them right now are going to say Washington. 14 of them are going to say New Orleans, and 14 of them are going to say Toronto. Right now, you have the same odds of getting Cooper Flag as Washington. That's what people don't understand. I want people to understand this because it's very important. If you're rooting for the tank, that you understand that right now at 8-30, the Raptors have as good a shot at Cooper Flag as Washington. Nobody in the world has a better chance of getting Cooper Flag right now than Toronto. Nobody. However, at number 3, Toronto can still potentially move down to 7th. At number 2, New Orleans can still potentially move down to 6th. And Washington can finish no worse than 5th. Because once those first 4 are drawn, teams are then in descending order placed where they were. So if Washington's number hasn't come in those first 4 picks, which we've already established, it's more likely for them to be 5th than 1st. It doesn't mean that Toronto is in a more advantageous position. I would switch places with Washington in a second in terms of the lottery odds. What I'm saying is right now, Toronto is locked in, at least at the moment, to 14% odds on Cooper Flag. Nobody has a better shot than that. 14% is as good as it can be. Stay in the bottom 3. Number 3 has a really good chance of moving up. As good a chance as Washington or New Orleans. I like being at number 3. Number 3 is where I want to end the season. I don't think we're going to end the season at number 3, but that's where I want to be. All right. So I hope that was informative for y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know these games are getting somewhat tedious or maybe, repetitive or all that stuff. I have a lot of work to do. Got to work on that defense video. Got to do a lot of final programming for Pendance. To those of you who are cinephiles and who love cinema, Pendance is coming up February 27th, March 2nd in Toronto at the Carlton Cinema. A lot of y'all showed up last year, showed Pendance love. Hopefully you saw some great films this year. You're going to see some great films as well, including a basketball film, potentially a basketball film. Was going to be an awesome film. All right. I'm going to talk to y'all later. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. And if you haven't gotten sick of my voice, I'm going to be on the panel tomorrow. So definitely go check out Player's Choice tomorrow if you would like to hear more about what I got to say. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.